Hey, what's going on? It's John, and it's time for the JMART CAST for Monday, April 25th. What's going on? How are your friends and family? Thank you, as always, for joining me for yet another episode of the JMART CAST. I hope you've had a great week. Mine's been excellent. I've gone to jiu-jitsu twice this week, practicing my Kimuras and Americanas and how to, take someone's back from side control, all those good things. I've had a good week of learning jiu-jitsu. I've been going to the no-gi classes, so not wearing the uniform and just kind of doing it in with the shorts and a rash guard. I kind of like that a lot better because it's a lot more similar to wrestling, which is what I'm comfortable with, and that's kind of what you'd wear in wrestling. Well, in wrestling, you'd wear a singlet, but again, it's just like something tight to your skin that people aren't supposed to grab you from. Whereas with the gi, it has all these collars and lapels that are meant for the opponent to, grip from and pull and push from. So it's kind of nicer not having that obstacle and only relying on, grabbing each other's limbs like arms and legs and neck and such. So yeah, I've been liking going to the no-gi classes. And actually a bit of a funny story was the first class on Tuesday that I went to. I actually brought my little girl with me and I timed it so that she would fall asleep right at the beginning of the class, and I would kind of put her to sleep in the car seat, which I brought into the gym with me. Obviously, I didn't leave her in the car or anything, but I brought the car seat with her sleeping in it into the gym, and she kind of slept beside where we were doing the class. And it actually went off well for the first 40 minutes. She was able to sleep through the class, and I, did it with the professor. It was a small class. It was just a professor and one other student besides me. So we had a good 40 minutes of a class. Like I said, practicing Kimuras and Americana submissions, and then she unfortunately woke up, so I had to go and comfort her and feed her some milk while I also watched the other student and the professor kind of practice the rest of the class. The second class was more successful, where I had the time to myself, where I actually went in without the kid and was able to get some a good hour and a half of practice under my belt, and did some good rolls and was able to practice, the things that I have been learning, and was able to actually apply them somewhat successfully on a couple opponents. So pretty happy with the progress I'm making in my jiu-jitsu skills. I've got a good professor, and my wife's been very good at helping me carve out the time necessary to go on a consistent basis. So that's been great. What else? Right, on Friday, I went to Coda, which, if you don't know what Coda is, it's one of the best nightclubs in Toronto. And I went there because I was going to see one of my favorite artists at the moment, Jeremy Olander, a Swedish DJ with an Indian background. And he was actually the last show I went to prior to the start of the pandemic. It was I think it was in February, either January or February of 2020 was that show. That was the last thing I'd went to. And two plus years later, it's the first show going back to Coda again that I'm going to, now that, I don't know, can we say the pandemic's over or not? It doesn't matter. Now that things are somewhat back to normal and you can have these kinds of shows without having to wear a mask, I went back. And maybe because I was just hyping this up in my head so much prior to going, but I was expecting to have an awesome time with a great performance by Jeremy Olander, which, it was good, but it just maybe didn't meet up to the expectations I had in my head just because of how big I built it up to be. I still had a great time with my buddy that I went with, and, danced my butt off. We arrived there at like 11:30 at night, and Jeremy didn't come on for an hour and a half till 1, and he only did a 2-hour set till 3. So that usually his other shows I've been to, he's done like a 3-hour, 2.5, 3-hour set. So keeping it short like that, I was a little disappointed in, I guess, just the new music that he was releasing, or I guess not releasing, obviously. The new music that I was not accustomed to, it I hadn't heard before. It just sounded very different from what I'm used to. Didn't have as much of like the complex, dark, emotional feel to it. It was, I don't know, just different, a lot more simpler in my mind, less emotional, and didn't connect with me. So, but it was a mix of like he was playing some older music with the new music, so it was going back and forth between, recognizing some of the songs and really enjoying them, and then trying to kind of feel out the new ones and maybe not connecting with them as deeply. So, but it didn't matter because I was there with a good buddy of mine, and we just had a good time doing something that we hadn't done in a long time, in over 2 years. And then, so that was Friday night, and then Saturday, I slept in a little bit as a way to recover from, dancing till 3 a.m. basically. Slept until 11. Luckily, one of my children was being taken care of by my parents, and then the other one was taken care of by my wife. So I was able to sleep in till 11, woke up feeling refreshed, and it was just in time as my wife was getting to go to work. So then I was in charge of taking care of my daughter, and then the two of us did our first subway trip actually for her to go a little bit downtown towards like Yonge and Bloor area, where we met up with some people that I just recently made acquaintances with over the internet, just some interesting people. So we went and had a coffee with these people and just had some random interesting conversations. It was all over the place. It covered many different topics, but some of it had to do with artificial intelligence and some of the worries that people might have with AI advancing so quickly that it could be like a species extinction event. There's a little bit of Bitcoin talk. Yeah, it was just nice to be able to do that. Again, it's one of these things that we have not been really able to do for a long time, 2+ years, and it's good to get back in the swing of things, meet people, have interesting conversations, and so on. So yeah, but that was my Saturday, and then of course today's Sunday, April 24th. I'm recording this a day before Monday, as I usually try to do. And April 24th, it's one day before my wife's birthday, but it also has another significant impact on me because, as I've said in the first podcast episode of the J-Mart CAST, I am Armenian. I was born in the nation state of Armenia Actually, I was not born in the nation state of Armenia. I was born in the Soviet Union. I was born in the Armenian Republic of the Soviet Union. 2 years after my birth, of course, it disintegrated. The Soviet Union did, and the Armenian nation state, or the Republic of Armenia, was born. But even though the nation of Armenia is so young, so new, the actual ethnicity of Armenians, the Armenian peoples, is really old, of course. Like, these are people that have existed for thousands of years. According to the story of Haik, who is like the legendary founder of Armenia, he lived around 2,000 years before Christ. So the history of Armenia spans a long time. But zooming in into the recent history, or not even that recent, but just history in the last 2,000 years, basically the region where the Armenian people have historically lived has been one where multiple large empires have come through and have, forcefully, with violence, have overtaken, right? We've had the Roman Empire come through. We've had the Mongols come through. We've had the Persians, the Ottomans, the Russian Empire. These are all large, powerful, empires with strong armies that have come through and, decimated the population and conquered the people. So it's amazing that currently in 2022, even a nation state exists with the name of Armenia, right? Although it's not doing very well. It's it's landlocked, so it doesn't have a lot of options in terms of trade. Many of the borders it has with the other countries are also hostile. especially the border that it has with the country of Turkey, right? Of course, the country of Turkey is what has come out of the old Ottoman Empire. And of course, Armenia's history with Turkey has been a very tumultuous one, with the Armenian Genocide being the exclamation point on the whole thing, where on April 24th, which is today's date, 1915 is considered the start of the Armenian Genocide. On this date, Armenian intellectuals such as church leaders, doctors, lawyers, any sort of person with any authority or influence, all these people, or money also, they were all arrested by Ottoman authorities, and then eventually many atrocities were committed, either by doing these death marches where people were marched into the deserts for, and walked basically through the desert until people died from starvation and dehydration. Dehydration before starvation, of course. All sorts of horrible things happened. Women and children killed, women raped, then killed, or if they weren't, given the benefit of dying, they were, sold into sex trafficking, whatever the equivalent at that time was. Of course, many children were killed or orphaned, and all in all, I think estimates are that 1 to 1.5 million Armenians were exterminated by the Ottoman Empire starting from April 24th, 1915. And so this is the day every year that Armenians commemorate the death of all the people, starting from today, by visiting this Armenian Genocide Memorial Complex that has been built in the capital of Armenia, in Yerevan. It's on this hill, kind of above the city, so you get a beautiful view of the city. And there's an eternal flame that's lit there where people come by to kind of visit, have a silent moment, and drop off some flowers. So just wanted to mention that and let everyone know that today's April 24th. Today's the day we commemorate the Armenian Genocide. And it is a time where we try to remember that, human beings are capable of doing some horrible things to one another. So we try to remember this, to not let it happen. And how do we not let it happen? I think it's the best way is to try to think of each other as human beings that are not that different from one another, right? We just try to, if you think of somebody else as a part of you, then if you wouldn't hurt yourself, you wouldn't hurt somebody else either. We're all just people, right? We all want the same things. We all want to live happy with our families, grow to an old age and see our families grow and our children have children, and just, thrive in this world without having to worry about our safety or where we're getting our next meal from. And all around the world, people are the same and they want those same things. And we just got to be careful in changing our perspective and viewing, certain groups as the other, as something to fear from, something to be worried about, someone who's going to cause trouble and change things so much that, the world is going to be left unrecognizable. These are the ways of thinking, the patterns of thinking and patterns of behavior that can lead to horrible things like the genocide, the Armenian Genocide, the first genocide of the 21st century, the genocide that laid the groundwork for the Jewish Holocaust. You can find quotes of Hitler talking about who remembers the Armenian Genocide as a way of promoting the Jewish Holocaust and saying that it's okay to murder so many people because it's been done before, and no one has stood up from the international community and condemned it as a wrongdoing. So just remember, people are all the same. We're all going to die eventually. Why not be peaceful, loving, caring in the time that we're here, rather than hateful, violent, or cruel. Yeah. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about the Armenian Genocide for today. Just a quick little Bitcoin update here. We're on block height 733,336. Price of Bitcoin is trading at about $39,500. That's US dollars. So for $1 you can buy 2,531 Satoshis. Remember, a Satoshi is the smallest subunit of a Bitcoin. One Bitcoin can be subdivided into 100 million Satoshis. As I always say, though, the price of Bitcoin is not what makes Bitcoin special. It's the other properties, the properties of decentralization, the properties of a hard cap of 21 million, the property of it being easily verifiable through your own node. And with that, I'm going to just end the podcast for today. Thank you everybody so much for listening every episode. I appreciate you all. If you could please take a moment and rate the podcast or just share it with somebody who you think might be interested in listening as well. I'd really appreciate it. And next week on Saturday, April 30th, there's going to be a Bitcoin meetup that's happening in Whitby. The address is 1632 Charles Street. I believe it's a brewery, and it's going to be an open bar, which is a little bit dangerous possibly, but it's sponsored by Shakepay, which is an exchange I use. It's a Canadian exchange, and I do have a referral link for them. If you're interested, check them out. It'll be in the description for this episode. There's also going to be some free food, which is sponsored by The Real Tahinis, which is a Middle Eastern restaurant, and there's going to be some special guests and speakers as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., like I said, Saturday afternoon. Join me if you'd like to go, or send me a message and I'll send you the details. You can reach me on Instagram or Twitter at jmartfit. All right, everybody have a great day, and remember, stay active, be grateful. J-Mart out.